podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn and welcome to How We're the podcast from Roker Report. And today we have something a little bit different as we are speaking to someone who lived the dream that most of us grew up wanting to do. And in my case, I still refuse to believe I'm too old, even though I'm just a couple of years older than today's guest. But first, before we get on to that, we of course, as always, have Gavin Henderson. All right, mate?
Yeah, brilliant, mate. Brilliant. What an introduction. They're getting better and better, these.
Well, that's it. And, because, you just wanted to join in for the crack, because, as we'll get into it, halcyon days, mate, weren't they?
Yeah. Some great times. And I'm sure we'll get into some, past the point of our guest playing career with Sunderland. We'll just get into what it's like supporting Sunderland, which is even better, isn't it?
You just can't get enough of it, can you? Right?
That's it.
Well, like I said, our guest came through the ranks in an unbelievable time at the club, which must have been like winning the lottery. And then he went on to have a cracking career at the likes of Grimsby Town, Rochdale, Bradford and Motherwell. We are very pleased to be speaking to Simon Ramsden. Hello, Simon.
How we doing, lads? Is okay?
Aye, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I might be a couple of years older than you, mate, but I still haven't let go of the dream.
Well, that's it. You never know, do you?
You're on that five-a-side pitch and you think, I can still do it.
I know. That's it. The mind thinks you can, but the body doesn't, innit? I'm still the same.
Well, how's things, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, full of busy at the minute. Got a lot of things going on and, it is kids and as well as work and events coming up and stuff. But no, I'm all good, thank you.
Tell us about it. It's been off me a bit, day playing taxi, But before we get into you and your story, we'll make sure kind of people get all the details about this before the end of the podcast. But you have an important fundraiser coming up for your former teammate, Joe Thompson, who sadly passed away earlier this year. So I thought we could start with you, having the chance to spread the word for those who haven't heard about it.
Yeah, I think obviously quite a lot of people are getting behind this in the area at the minute. But for those that don't know, The story goes, I had 5 or 6 years at Rochdale, going back to mid-2000s. Great times, some good memories, managed to play at Wembley and stuff at Rochdale. So I look back at it with some fond memories. And along that time, there was a young lad that was breaking into the team alongside me. And I felt as if I was sort of one of the older pros in the team, trying to guide him through. And he was playing right wing in front of me at right back. And we just hit it off instantly. 20 years down the line, obviously we've been through a lot together, good friends, on and off the pitch, been on holidays and different things. Now, unfortunately, during his career, he managed to be diagnosed with cancer, which was tragic. He managed to come back from cancer, which is... It just basically epitomises everything the lad's about, a fighter, warrior. Came back from cancer, managed to play football again, which is just incredible. He then got diagnosed for the second time when he was just getting his career back on track. Fought that battle, came back, and like a scene out of a movie script, scored the winning goal to save Rochdale from relegation. So just an incredible story and an incredible man. So carrying on his career, retired after that, went on to do motivational speaking, worked for Sky, worked for MUTV, lots of different things, and came up here to Sunderland to see me on a regular basis, and even spoke at my fitness classes to all the people that come there, done a motivational chat. And yeah, it's one of them. Unfortunately, about a year ago, he got diagnosed for the third time, which was just heartbreaking when you think that he's got his life back on track. He'd recently lost a child around that time, and it's crazy how sometimes these things happen for people, and Joe was unfortunately one of them. So I organised an event last year. I thought, how can I give him something back in any way, shape or form for what he's done for me, for his family? And he was raising money for his cancer treatment at that time. So I trained for 25 hours without sleep last year. people joined in alongside me, and I managed to raise over $4,000, and that went towards his treatment, which it was a great weekend. Everybody came together and pushed, and that went towards his treatment. Now, fast forward nearly a year later, and unfortunately, Joe lost his battle with cancer recently, about a month or two ago, which was absolutely tragic. He's leaving 2 small children behind. I went down to the funeral, and his little girl spoke, and I left the funeral thinking, what on earth can I do to give something back to them kids, and what can I create? So, following on from the 25-hour event, which I did before, Joe's saying, or one of his sayings, was, don't live life to survive, live life to thrive. And he believed in that. And a lot of us just basically, I think, struggle through the week. You're surviving and you're just thinking, I can't wait for Saturday or whatever. And that's the opposite of how he wanted to live his life, even though he was struggling with what's going on. So I called the last event 25 to help Joe thrive. And that was the meaning behind it, the 25 hours. So when I left the funeral last month, I had a thought and think, right, what can I do this time? Now, the logical thing would be 27, which rhymes with heaven, because I wanted it to rhyme with heaven. And knowing Joe, knowing what he's gone through, knowing that he's never took the easy option in life, I thought, nah, fuck that. I'm going to go all in. So instead of 27 hours, I'm doing 37 hours. No sleep, training, back to back, and I'm calling it 37 for JT in heaven. So that's the meaning behind it. That's what I'm doing, and it's happening next Friday night at Sunderland ABC, and I start at 9 p.m, and I am going to train all the way through until Sunday morning at 10 a.m.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You've got some people joining you as well?
Yeah, I mean, going back to what we spoke before we came on air, all massive Sunderland fans. So when I was obviously growing up, Roker End, then the Fulwell End, and I remember being back at the Fulwell and when Peter Reid took over that Sheffield United game and memories like that. And fortunately after that, obviously I signed for the club, but Peter Reid's going to come along next Friday night to do the first class alongside me and join in. And the skipper of that time, obviously, Roker Park days, Kevin Ball, is also coming along, who's a really good friend of mine, from obviously playing alongside him, as well as different things after I've retired from football. So if I could handpick anybody to kickstart the 37 hours, I think you'd do well to find 2 better characters than them 2. So I'm over the moon with it.
Brilliant. Good stuff. And we'll stick all the details up, Gav, on this pod and on the site and everything.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be everywhere. We'll put it all over our social media. It'll be in the show notes for this, so people can donate if they wish to. And like I said, amazing cause. Just an awful thing that a family's gone through, isn't it? So, no, well on you, mate.
Thank you.
And we'll remind everyone of this, but before we finish up, of all the details and everything. And as Gav says, we'll stick it all over the site and all over the pod and on the socials and everything. So everyone keep a lookout for that. But you mentioned in that, Simon, about standing at the back of the Fulwell and the Roker End and that. So it kind of, in terms of growing up, probably same as I was and Gav was, you quite rightly told that there was no other option than to support Sunderland. And you're a couple of years older than me, but you look 10 years younger, by the way, which is a bit of a bugger. But I'm guessing you would have started going along to Roker in the Dennis Smith era, was it?
Yeah, Dennis Smith was a manager. I think we beat Chesterfield 4-1 or 4-0 on my first match. I always remember. I've got it actually tattooed on me on the programme.
Was that 3rd division, was it?
I vaguely remember it because obviously I'll have been 5 or 6 or something then. But yeah, the Dennis Smith era, that was my first memory of Sunderland. I just missed out on going to the cup final in 85 with my dad. But yeah, from then onwards, with my dad's work, obviously all my family from Sunderland, but with my dad's work, we actually moved down south not long after that to near London. So we used to travel up from London to the home matches. Any away matches down the south of the country, we would be there, home and away as much as we could. And that's all my fond memories from being a child, really, following Sunderland home and away, whether it be in the car, whether it be on supporters' buses, whether it be the Wembley Cup run in 92, which I would say is probably the highlight of my childhood, them memories of that cup run and, different things like that.
Yeah. I think being a bit older, I was a little bit luckier because my first game was beating Man United at home when we went up to the First Division. Gary Bennett flicking it over Pallister.
Yeah, what a goal that was.
And slotting in here's where we'll lose, Gav, you see.
Aye.
The young un is where we're losing for 5 minutes. So I imagine your heroes growing up would have been, what, Marco and Gates and all that?
Marco was my hero. I've actually, again, going back to tattoos, I've got the goal when Marco scored against the Mags.
That is class.
Tattooed on arm.
We need to get photos of these tattoos on.
It looks like a photo, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's class.
So I've got him. He was my idol as a kid. And strangely enough, towards the middle part of my career, I nearly went on loan to Hartlepool from Sunderland. And I played pre-season for them in one match, just to have a feel of the place and whatever. And I played alongside Marco that day. It was just a bit surreal, to be honest. Yeah, absolute hero of mine as a kid growing up. Like, what a player he was.
Yeah. Well, we'll get on to kind of this whole surreal thing, because I find that the thought of it bizarre that you kind of support them and then get into it. But as you kind of growing up and you're being scouted as a young'un, I mean, were there any other clubs taking a look, or were you kind of knew that Sunderland wanted you, or were you just thinking, I'm waiting for Sunderland?
Yeah, when I moved down south with my dad, strangely enough, there was a Sheffield United School of Excellence near where we lived. And in them days, I think clubs branched out all over the country to try and get good young lads. I remember training with them as like an 8-9-year-old. Cambridge United, trained with them. Chelsea's School of Excellence. Different things when I was down south. But the dream was always Sunderland, always. So when we moved back up to the northeast, I was about 10. And obviously got in my local teams and stuff like that, your districts, your counties. And it was for my district team that I actually got spotted for Sunderland when I think I'll have been 14 or 15. But yeah, turning into a professional footballer wasn't the dream. It was just to play for Sunderland. That's all I ever wanted as a kid. It was just, it was something that I was so passionate about and just give me all to make it happen.
Yeah.
So it was surreal when obviously something like that happened.
Yeah. And who was it who was involved in? Was that kind of I'm trying to think, was that the Jonathan Trigg days just after? Was it Jim Morrow still hanging around, or was it?
Not strangely. So Peter Reid was the first team manager at the time. I was 14, 15. But Sam Allardyce was the youth team manager. Now, Peter Reid and him are like best mates, aren't they? So I think at that time, Sam Allardyce had just left. It might have been Notts County, Blackpool. One of them rings a bell. And I think just to keep him in the game or whatever, Reid's probably said, look, there's a job here for a month or two until you get something else. So he was my under-15s manager, Sam Allardyce.
That's mad, isn't it?
When you see where he's gone from there.
I bet there was no Dubai trips then.
Unfortunately not, nah. He was in charge, and it was like Pop Robson, Ricky Sprazier, people like that were obviously higher up in charge of the youth system and stuff like that. So they were my first sort of memories of the youth setup, and Jed McNamee and people like that.
Bloody hell. I mean, you're talking, because Pop Robson's got he's got his reputation in the game as a coach. Leeds, Man United, and then, as a scout as well. And obviously kind of Ricky Sprazier's been all over the shop and end up managing the club.
Yeah.
And then Sam Allardyce, bloody hell. I mean, that's an education and a half, isn't it?
And Jed McNamee as well, who spent a long time in the academy, didn't he?
Do you know what? Even up until recently, I think Jed's only been left a year or two. Good times. Like, it was a bit of a culture shock leaving school and getting Ricky Sprazier on your case, as you can imagine. But no, it was great times. Unbelievable.
Yeah, Sam Allardyce sticking champagne in the water bottles for half time, and that was
where my drinking starts.
And then kind of moving on a bit, obviously. So at what point did it become, because I imagine School of Excellence, I remember, all of my mates, loads of lads in School of Excellence, we went like once or twice a week. I mean, what point did it change from that to go to kind of almost full time? Because you ended up in the digs, didn't you?
Yeah, so let's say I think I signed 14 or 15, something like that. So I had a season ticket whilst playing. We used to play on Sunday mornings at that age group. So Saturday I'll be at Roker Park or going to away games or whatever. Sunday morning, we'd be playing in the youth team. Then as we got older, the matches started to be on a Saturday morning. So because I was doing well for the under-15s, they might play me for the 16s or the older age group, and that would be Saturday morning. So I used to go and play for them at the Charlie Hurley Centre. Quick change, go to the match with my dad. Couldn't get the autographs and that, as you do. And it was when I left school that summer. So I left school. This is one of my biggest, not regrets because it's out of my hands, but I never got a chance to play at Roker Park. Now, as a kid, like that was the dream.
Not even for the reserves or anything, no?
No.
Games, no.
Nothing. So the season I signed full-time, like I've met at Roker Park when we used to leave on the bus and stuff like that, do you know what I mean? But actually playing on the pitch, the season I left school and signed is the season we moved into the Stadium of Light, which was still incredible, obviously, but I think something in me, that small kid who used to sit on the terraces with my dad and that would have just given anything to play on that pitch. Still haunts me to this day that I didn't even get there like 1 year earlier or anything. But yeah, so I basically left school, signed full term, moved into the digs on the seafront because my family were living in Newton Aycliffe at the time. The rest of my family all live in Sunderland, but I went to school through there, so it's too far to travel as a 16-year-old. And the club wanted to keep an eye on you, as you can imagine. So 16-year-old living in the seafront with like 20 lads was fun in games.
We've had the likes of Kieran, because even it goes back a long time before you stayed there. I mean, Malcolm Crosby used to run it back in the day. Yeah. And, you talk to Malcolm Crosby and his daughter as well, obviously, who's doing so well now. I mean, they used to live amongst it. I doubt it. I probably know the answer to this already, but it had calmed down since the likes of Kieran Brady, or was it still? No.
No, as wild as ever. Well, I feel sort of like Karen and Jim Mordy, they used to look after us. I honestly don't know how they done it. Like their son Gareth, one of my really good friends, was in the youth team with me. So his mum and dad were looking after the whole, like I say, 3 floors of lads, all loose cannons, whatever. Like some of the Irish were going out on weekends, not coming back in. It was mad. And then every now and again, Reid would pop in out the blue, surprise you, or Pop Robson, or someone would pop in just to try and like keep an eye on you. Never knew when that was going to happen, but it was good times.
Running to your rooms and hiding stuff, was it?
Oh,
they used to like an inspection.
I definitely like the army, mate.
It was funny you mentioned about kicking about playing on Roker Park. The only time I ever kicked a ball at Roker Park was the auction, because they basically opened the whole thing up. And we didn't know about it. I mean, my mate walked past and we went, bloody hell, all the gates are open. Mm-hmm. And we legged it back, got a footy, and went on the pitch the day before the auction or something, and started having a kick about on the pitch. And that's the only time I kicked a ball on that pitch.
Going back to the auction, I was obviously, when we got to Wembley the other week, I was digging out some of my shirts, like the Vaux ones and that, and I got a brick from the auction of Roker Park. So I got one of the last bricks. I think it was from the Roker end. So my missus now was like, what the fuck have you got a brick in the house? Like, just kept pulling out random bits of memorabilia from Roker Park, like a sign which was in the tunnel. I've got all sorts of shit, mate.
Pride of place on the mantelpiece, this brick.
Aye.
Just in terms of the digs and you kind of coming through, do you reckon you were probably the last generation who came through with that sort of education where, you were, it was made tough for a reason, and you had to do boots and you had to do jobs, and you were almost treated that way for a reason to kind of build you up. Do you think you were probably the last generation who went through that?
I don't think we'd have been far off. Yeah, I agree. Some of the things that they used to do to us, honestly, like the young lads nowadays have not got a clue how easy it is me. Like borderline abuse, some of the stuff we used to get done to us, like, but at the time you used to, like, obviously really, not rebel against it, but like you used to think like, why the fuck are they doing this to us? Or like it was like borderline child cruelty, but it does stand you in good stead as you get older. Do you know what I mean? Like you leave school thinking you've cracked it, and then it is a little bit like an army feel, like where you just get mentally abused every week for a while just to put you in your place. And then with the jobs and if you used to be cheaty the first team, they'd polish you and just random stuff, or like, you all had a jobby. So I think mine was like pumping the balls up 1 month or something. And if they were too hard, they'd boot the balls in the air. You'd have to head at every single one, just random shit. When you look back, like, it's mad. I can't imagine none of that goes on nowadays, to be honest.
So where do you sit with that? Because you almost feel like a dinosaur saying, "Oh, we should go back to that." I mean, is there some happy medium between what we've got now and what we had then?
I think it's great, most of it. I don't agree with getting polished in the boot room. No, I think the game's gone too soft. Personally, I think I would give anything to go back to them days where you could lay a tackle on someone, where it was a bit of an old school mentality, where the game was more physical, where people aren't offended by the littlest fucking comment, where, I don't know, like, young lads now, if they got a bollocking like we did, they'd probably cry and pack in the day after. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's right, but it definitely stood me well for the rest of my life, not just football. Like, when I come into any adversity now with whatever, it goes back to your ground and how you were brought up. And I don't think it's the same now for these football lads. They get things too easy. They get high wages. Like, we were on like 40 quid a week or something as a YT at Sunderland. You'd get paid, you'd blow your money in the first 2 days, your mum and dad would bail you out. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, nowadays, some of these lads probably haven't played a first team game, they might be on 10 grand a week. Like, where's their goals to get into the first team or make a career for themselves? Like, they're probably millionaires by the 1920. Like, it's just the game's totally changed, and I don't think for the better, personally.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell, can't you, Gav? I mean, it's funny because when a player like Trey Hume comes along, it's almost a shock, isn't it, that someone's like that, Gav?
Aye. It's nice when you get a throwback every so often, isn't it? But even you've got to think of his upbringing. He came through, it'll be in the academy, but it won't have been on the scale you get in this country. And then he's had to, basically play men's football from being a kid. And he's like, but you're right, that doesn't happen anymore, does it? And you almost wonder, like, why has that changed? Like, because I know the world's changed, and you kind of basically just bully kids to the point where, like, they might want to give up in that. But I listen to loads of podcasts with ex-players, like Under the Cosh, and the amount of times they get people on who tell the same kind of story you've just told, Simon, and they kind of get their heads around why it's changed. They're like, it made us as men, like, it totally made us grow up.
I done a podcast last week, and we're talking about, he said to me, who's the best player you ever played against? And I said to him, strangely enough, one of the worst things I think that they did in football was to stop the reserve league. So when I was coming through at like 16, 17, 18, on a Monday night, you were playing the reserves if you were selected. And luckily at that time, I kept getting put in the reserves. And you would play against first team lads that didn't get a game on the Saturday. So we would turn up Monday night, might be the Mags, might be Leeds, might be Man U, whoever, and we'd be like, right, fucking hell, who's on this team sheet? And there'd be like 5 or 6 players who were on Match of the Day every week, fully like 200, 300, 400 games under the belt, Premier League established players. And you would come up against them as a 16, 17-year-old, you'd get ragged all over, or you'd be way off it, and it was like a culture shock, as if to say, this is a man's game now. They stopped that, and they started playing this shite under-19s, ressies stuff, and 20s and that. So when they get thrown into a league, Matt, they're not used to playing against men. It's totally different. So I went out on loan to Notts County for a spell, and because I've been playing in the reserves and playing against men, I sort of fitted in straight away because it was a physical battle, but I've been used to it. And they don't get that now. I think that's one of the worst things that they could have done.
Yeah, I remember when Sunderland played, was it Aston Villa under 21s or something in the EFL trophy? And we battered them, and they didn't look like they wanted to head the ball, never mind going for a tackle. I mean, the difference was massive. It's funny, Gav, actually, not long ago, I'm sure you went on eBay or something, and you were taking loads of pictures. People had reserve team sheets from back in the day, and we were going through them, and some of the players, like you say, Simon, some of the players who were playing, absolutely. I remember going to Roker Park to watch reserve games because they used to open the main stand. And like on Wednesday night, if Man United were there, you might see in the early 90s, like Brian Robson or someone like that, or someone getting back from fitness.
Totally. I remember, I don't know if you can remember this spell, but when Sunderland obviously finished 7th in the Premier League 2 years in a row, and that's when I was coming through, the reserve games, we used to have 30 and 40,000 there at the Stadium of Light. Now, as a young lad playing in that, it doesn't get much better. It is probably equivalent of playing a first team match. The pressure that's on with the amount of fans that's turning up, and like I say, you don't get that now. It's a shame, because I really do think that helped me later on in my career when I came into big matches. It's experiences like that stood us in good stead for them.
Yeah. Can I just add as well, just because you talked about it there, Chris, that Aston Villa team that we battered 8-1, which was literally men against boys, had Kane Kessler-Hayden, who was just been Preston's best player this year, Carney Chukwuemeka, who I think Chelsea, Aaron Ramsey, who's playing, he's Premier League, and Jacob Ramsey. The two Ramsey, one of them's at Villa, but one of them went elsewhere. But regardless, Jayden Philogene, Cameron Archer, all these players were in that team, and we battered them 8-1. It just shows you, though, like, a lot of these lads have gone on and done quite well, but that difference is massive. They were playing against Max Power, Grant Ledbetter, Josh Scowen, Charlie Wyke, you know what I mean, Lyndon Gooch. Like, certainly not world beaters by any stretch, but blokes. I wonder if that'll ever come back. I know we're getting
that's done. That's completely done, I reckon.
It would make it more interesting for fans, wouldn't it? You'd probably turn up and watch it.
Probably more bothered about 10 passes as a goal now than fucking developing players and, like you said, doing all that. So that's a problem.
Well, just in your terms of you training at the time, because, you know, was it quite often, did the likes of Peter Reid and Bobby Saxton like to get the young lads across? Because we talked to Craig Russell, and he said, he said that the first time he got called over to the first team squad, it was just after Bally signed. Mm-hmm. And he said he was a smart arse at first, and he megged Bally. And he said, he was like laughing a bit. And he said the second time, Bally just absolutely smashed him. But he said he went from kind of playing with the young lads to playing with the first team. And he was almost looking at these players going, bloody hell, you know, I just saw them playing like last season at Roker Park, and then suddenly he's on the pitch with them.
This is the good thing. So at the Charlie Hurley Centre, everyone was based together. You'd be in porter cabins. The three pitches were next to each other. And I remember loads of times as a young lad, 17, 18, if one of the first team got injured, Sacco or Reid would be like shouting over to our manager, we need 2 players, I don't know, we need a midfielder or right back. And we would get a chance out of nothing just to get thrown in and train with them. We'd have our dinners together, we'd play head tennis together, and it was just like one place, all so tightly knit. And so the transition from youth to reserves to first team, it was just straightforward. It wasn't anything different. And I think when we moved to the academy, where they're at now, the Academy of Light, that was my last season at the club. And again, facilities, unbelievable. Obviously, chalk and cheese to the Charlie Hurley with porter cabins and that. But you've got the youth team training half a mile down that way in different changing rooms, totally separate, and it didn't have the same feel. Like, you're not all training next to each other on the pitch. You might have dinner together, but do you know what I mean? Everything was so spread apart. And I think the reason we finished 7th in the Premiership twice under Reid was how tight-knit the whole club was at that time. The youth team were top of the league. The reserve team were top of the league. The first team would win every week. We finished 7th, but we're still beating some unbelievable teams. And I think when a lot of clubs are probably like this now, they wouldn't know who any of the youth team are, the first team lads. Do you know what I mean? Whereas we'd all play head tennis on them all, and they'd know all our names. It was just, it's like a different world now.
Do you know, sorry to step in, Chris. You know what's interesting as well? You say that first year we went to the academy, the youth team and the first team were nowhere near each other. Mm-hmm. If you look, the season we got relegated and then we were in the championship. It was the season we got the semis under Mick McCarthy. If you look through, like, not many, considering the turnover of players and the fact we got relegated, not many young players got much of a chance that year. And you've just kind of set me mind wondering there whether, you know, the changing environment and the fact that the youth players weren't quite as close to the first team, whether that had an impact on that. Because if you look through, you had like Tommy Butler made a handful of appearances. Ben Anick was there but never got a chance. Ben Clark had a handful of appearances. Mm-hmm. But you're struggling after that. You know what I mean? There wasn't many. Michael Ingham got a game in
Kevin Kyle was probably the bigger one.
Yeah, but Kevin Kyle had been there when Reid was there, so he was maybe a little bit older, wasn't he?
Yeah. There was a bit of a gap. There wasn't a bit of gap where not many came through.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of that group you came through with, Simon, because as you said, like really seemed to actually have quite a bit of focus on youth. And you think about his first season or his first full season, you had Bridges and Easton who came through. So was it like all through the clubs, all the lads were looking at that thinking, wait, actually, they'll chuck you in if you're good enough?
Yeah, like, I think going back to them days, I think even if you remember when we went up to the Premiership the last season at Roker Park, we never spent money, did we? Do you know what I mean? I remember bringing in Chris Waddle for like 50 grand or something. Like, we didn't spend any money. And so I think as a young lad at Sunderland at that time, because it was the season after when I joined, or even whatever, if you were good enough, they would give you a chance. Now, as it's gone on from there, obviously going up to the Premiership, it's a different kettle of fish then. You have to be an exceptional talent at 17, 18, 19 to get thrown in. And every now and again, you get one or two who get pushed on, like George McCarthy got pushed in, or Tommy Butler, or you get the odd one. Now, a few seasons ago when Sunderland are in League One, I'd love to have been at the club because everybody's going to get a chance then. But at the time I was there was always two or three ahead of me. There was always Daz Williams beside Bernd Haas. Like, there was different people. And as a young lad, it is tricky to break through. But on the whole, before that, he would always throw a young lad in if you were good enough, definitely. And we would, like I say, we were top of the reserve league, top of the youth team league. So he knew we had some good players coming through, and he was just like drip feeding the odd one here and there.
Yeah. I mean, again, just talk, that group that you came through with, because like, you've mentioned a few of them, like McCartney, who came through. And there was ones who I remember being I remember reading at the time thinking who might come through, and you had your likes of yourself, and I can't remember whether it was the same year or not, but you had the likes of Cliff Byrne, who was highly rated and all that, and the likes of Thirlwell was getting a chance. But was there any in that group who you thought, oh, they're definitely going to make it, and maybe didn't quite kick on, or, you just thought, oh, that was maybe not a waste, but that you thought they might be going to the top?
The one who stood out by a country mile for me was Tommy Butler. And he never really showed the fans in a first-team match what he showed us. And there's two. John Oster was the same. But he didn't come through the system, obviously. But Tommy Butler, if anybody used to go to the reserve games or seen us in training or whatever, he was steps above. Like, he was so technically good. And I don't know, I'm not saying that he didn't do great for the first team, but he could have been so much more. And I don't know why that was, whether it was the pressure of playing for Sunderland or what. I don't know. I still speak to Butch now, but his talent was unbelievable. John Oster, as well, when he come in, people couldn't get near him in training. He was that good. Unbelievable. And again, on a Saturday, did he really show up for Sunderland on a regular basis? Possibly not. I wouldn't say many fans would say he was one of the standout players, but in training, he was unbelievable. And this is the thing, sometimes players are shite in training all week and they turn it on a Saturday, and it can go the other way, where they're like Bally all week and then you don't see them on a Saturday. It's just, that's football. But yeah, some of them lads, we just had a good team, a good squad of young lads that probably all could have gone on and done really well if they were given the opportunity, I think, around about that time.
I watched Tommy Butler play in the Northern League like 3-4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And even then, you're watching him and you're like, what are you doing on the pitch with some of these?
He's unreal.
Yeah, just running the game without having even to break into a sprint at Northern League level. And you're like, what are you doing on the pitch with some of these? But yeah, he's one that stands out to me because I can remember when he broke through.
Yeah,
we thought we'd like really unearth this raw talent. I mean, didn't he play a couple of games for Ireland as well, like when he was really young?
Yeah. No, say it's not like I'm making out like he had a bad career. He done great, played for Ireland, went on to Swansea and whatever. But when you think back, and I think he could have been one of them who, like a Julio or whatever, who's fondly remembered. He could have gone on to play 200, 300, 400 times for Sunderland for the ability that he had.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you talked about those first two seasons at the Stadium of Light, and then obviously we had that title-winning season, 105 points. And then we went out and we started like the likes of Steve Bold, Stefan Schwartz, and even, dare I say, a big name, didn't do quite as well, Thomas Helmer, who came in that summer. Did you feel that step up straight away?
Yeah, I did. Like, you could see that summer, it had gone from not bargain basement, but like, you could see, right, we're spending, I think Lee Clark come in or whatever. Like, there was like, we're spending 3 million on him, 4 million on him, Stefan Schwartz. And as a fan, like, every morning you're like, right, who's getting out the car? Yeah, it was quite exciting, just to see instead of 3 or 4 years earlier where Chris Waddle's our biggest signing for 50 grand, it was like, right, we're linked with internationals now. And it was a really exciting time, right?
Yeah. Just on Waddle, because you mentioned him a couple of times, how was it with him around the place? I mean, were there like young lads just watching him?
He'd left, so obviously he'd
already gone.
Season at Roker Park, but then he'd left in that summer. Right. When I signed full time. So I never actually, I might be wrong, but I don't remember of training with him unless he was still there for the first part. But no, like I say, I think when you watch back from your passions and everything, like it's crazy, isn't it? Like we were so close to staying up, and 2 or 3 signings or a striker or something, and we probably would have done it, wouldn't we? When you look back in hindsight.
That one striker, first team to go down with 40 points that year. Typical Sunderland. But I just mentioned Helmer. And actually, you could rattle off a list of players that came into Sunderland under Peter Reid and then suddenly just disappeared after one game or anything like that. I mean, could he just be like that? That, you know, he brought you in, he bought you, or he bought a player, and then he'd just be ruthless and go, actually, no, I didn't fancy you, you're out.
Yeah, I was having this chat with, I met Bally yesterday, obviously going about this event next week. And I said, like, there's very few people in life or in any walk of life who have this sort of aura about them when they walk in a room. And I always remember, like, when we used to be in the first team change room or if we were young lad, if Peter Reid walked through, it would just be like an earthly silence or just, it was like a respect thing, you know? It wasn't like people didn't like him. It was just like, right, the gaffer's here sort of mentality. And I do think that if he didn't like you or if he'd done something, he could totally just think, right, that's you done sort of thing. However, he was a very, very fair man. And as long as you're doing the goods on a Saturday, I don't think he was really that bothered what you got up to. But if you let him down, you wouldn't know about it, like, definitely.
Yeah. Because it's amazing, Gav, you could rattle off a whole list of players who he seemed to bring in, and some of them for decent money, and then they just disappeared. As quick as they came in, they were gone.
It's names which still get brought up now, like Backy Mercermek and Tom.
He was never good enough, Backy. Like
he went on to play for Turkey.
Really?
Yeah, I was amazed by this. I don't know how he came up in conversation or whatever, but if you look at his career after Sunderland,
really?
he played 2 years for Besiktas, which are they're in a big club, you know what I mean? He got one cap mine for Turkey, but still, I did it all right. And it was Tom Peters is another one who comes to mind.
Yeah,
his famous moment was when Wilkinson got sacked, wasn't it?
What's that? How's that story go again?
Apparently, he was sitting at the back and he jumped up and went yes or something like that.
That was it
when Wilkinson announced it. But and yeah, I mean, did you mention Carsten Fredgaard?
Yeah, there was quite a few. I think Medina. He was a lot of money on him. He was supposed to be the next big thing.
Yeah, Jan Eriksson early on.
Physically, Medina was way off it. Like, I just don't think he could. Technically, he was good, but I don't think he could. Cope physically with the demands of the Premiership.
I remember him playing in a cup game, and he looked okay. It was like an FA Cup or a League Cup game at the Stadium of Light.
He was like that, though, wasn't he?
He was. But we spent a lot of money on him.
It was about $4 million or something, wasn't
it? Yeah. Again, though, went on to play international football. He got a cap for Argentina.
Do you know what, though? Like, the way football is now, he probably would suit it. Like, fields, back, square. Like, he's that type of player, whereas at that time, it was a lot more physical. Yeah. That's why he got found out. So yeah, it wasn't like he didn't have the ability; he just couldn't cope with it. Basically,
we can't do a list like that without mentioning Nunes either.
No,
the big one,
crazy,
or the small one, whichever way you want to look at it.
Going back to one about reserve games, I remember the week he signed, it was like $1 million or something. And they brought him out of the pit, and he played for the reserves in our team on that week. And I'm sure there was 40,000 there.
Yeah, it was. Was it Liverpool or Man U or something?
Liverpool, I played it. I'm sure I did. But I was like 40,000 there. And obviously there's running jokes about, like, was it the right player? Was he not the right player? Do you know what? He actually wasn't that bad. Like, people might make this running joke. He was tiny, but he had a good spring. And technically, he was all right. He wasn't. But I think he just come in with the biggest smile on his face every day, thinking, I wonder what really like the money he was given or something. I don't know, but I think a lot is made out about how he was the wrong player or this or that, but he actually wasn't a bad player at all. He just, like I say, it just is what it is.
I remember that game where he got carted out at half time to announce the new sign, and I was sitting right in the middle of the north stand behind the goal where my season ticket was, and I just remember when he got carted out, this old bloke behind us just saying, "Is that him, or have they just brought a Ben out first or something?" Like that?
He was shadow boxing, wasn't he?
But anyway, going on to kind of get into the pre-season of 2001, because this is when you started getting involved. And at the end of that season, we ended with Patrice Carteron at right back, who came in on loan and scored against the Mags. I mean, as that season's ending, because obviously there's someone on loan, are you almost kind of looking forward? Are you thinking, actually, there might be a gap in the squad, in the team here, where I might be able to kind of slot in there?
Do you know what? I was so close. So I went away. I would just train my arse off that summer, and I came back, and we used to do 4 laps of the Charlie Hurley Centre first day back. That was like a fitness test to see if you had been doing out. And I think I come second or something behind Mickey Gray. Mickey Gray was the fittest man known. Like he was just way in front of everyone. And I'm sure I come second. And Peter Reid came over me and he was like, "Son, if you can run like that and you've got the ability, you've got half a chance." And I thought, right, he's obviously thinking about me here. So then all week I was on fire, and they were going to France pre-season, and they put the names up, and I was the last name on, like totally out of the blue, wasn't expecting it to go on. I think just because of the impression I made on him that week. So they took me to France, and then following the week in France, I played every pre-season game that summer. We went like on a tour of the West Country. I think we played in Calais. Then we played, it was like Torquay, Plymouth.
Mansfield, I think, were hammered.
Played in that. I played, and I remember Adrian Heath pulling me. It was like, obviously his assistant as well as Sacco at the time, saying like, "Keep it going, son. Like, you could be starting first game of the season if you keep this going." And they then signed, obviously, at that time, it was probably just, I was a bit too young to rely on me, obviously, week in, week out. So they signed Bernd Haas. Then what they done, Peter Reid pulled me, he said, "Right, we signed Bernd Haas. He's going to play on Saturday." And we played West Brom pre-season. "And you're going to go with the reserves with Ricky just to get a game. Just keep it going, son. And obviously, you're in my thoughts." I go away with Ricky Sprague's team down fucking, I can't remember, this non-league team, Braintree or something random. End up doing my ankle ligaments. You cannot write, like, the fine lines in football, how close I was to breaking in or being thereabouts or even starting probably at the start of the season if Bernd Haas hadn't signed. To that, it was devastating.
Yeah, yeah, because well, I was looking because there was 2 games in Holland he played in towards the end, and it must have been kind of disappointing as well because I don't know, it didn't kind of kick in straight away, but actually it seemed like during that season, because I think Darren Williams actually ended up right back towards the end of that season. It didn't seem like he fancied Bernd Haas during that season.
This is the thing, he didn't. And I remember Daz being out injured, and I'm watching the game thinking, fuck me, I'd have been playing here. Like the dream. I'd have been at least minimum on the bench in the Premiership anyway, if not playing when them 2 were both out.
The third game of the season, we played Newcastle as well.
I don't know if I could have handled that, mind, but at least.
Do you think you would have got sent off?
I'd maybe in the warm up.
But I mean, as a young lad, I mean, I know it's a real tough one because you're young and you're kind of coming through. But was there anything in you that you thought, "I fancy knocking on his door," actually, or out like that?
As I got older, maybe. Like with Mick McCarthy, I'd chat with him and stuff like that. But I think at that age, I was just in awe of being around it. Like I said to you earlier, going from having a season ticket to actually having chats with even like the manager and being in his office and cleaning the boots and training with them, I don't think that feeling really left. So, no, to go and knock on his door as a 17, 18-year-old, I don't think I had it in me. If I'd have been at a different club, which I wasn't passionate about, possibly, but I've always been the type of lad, I've never really been outspoken. I've just tried to show them with my work ethic or my attitude why I should be in the team rather than shouting my mouth off or knocking on and stuff like that. So, yeah. Probably not. Yeah.
I mean, again, just in terms of you training, because we talked about that, maybe that step up with the Stefan Schwarzes of the world. I assume in training you were kind of thinking, yeah, I'm kind of here and I'm at that level, and you felt comfortable, in amongst all those players.
Totally. Yeah, like I say, I went away to France with them and didn't feel out of place, played all pre-season, and I really did think this is it. And obviously they did as well, to pull me and chat to me and say, look, just keep doing what you're doing. And we played away at Celtic, I think, pre-season that year as well. And I, like I say, all these games, I was involved. So ability-wise, I didn't have any doubts in my mind. How much I wanted it, I didn't have any doubts in my mind. But then obviously I got the bad injury, which I was out for about 3 or 4 months. Had to have an operation on my ankle. And it just set me back, fitness-wise, in the pecking order. I probably started drinking when I was injured because I wasn't playing. Just little things in the fine lines, like you say, between getting a chance and not.
Yeah. With those big players that we said, was there some players who came in who straight away you thought, bloody hell, they're the next level up. They're probably they're real top class. Were there any of those where you just saw that straight away?
I remember Claudio Reyna. He was one of them. Like, I just remember joining in with him, and he was just a step ahead. Like, no one could get near him, little small squares and different stuff. And I mean, there was loads, but just the first name that sprung to mind there was when we signed him. He was different class.
Yeah. I mean, that season as well, because you came back from injury, and I mean, we ended up slipping to 17th. Like we said, we had that, burnt arse, not really fancy. Darren Williams came in at right back. We brought Lillian Lalonde in, I remember, to try and replace Quinny, which was a really strange one. Could you feel things slipping? Because after things were so good for those, 4 years, could you actually feel things on the training ground just kind of going slightly downhill? Yeah,
I could, because when I go back to when I was on about the Charlie Hurley and that, the squad was predominantly British players who all had the old school mentality. You'd have a good Irish connection, English, whatever, and the togetherness was unbelievable. Then you started drip feeding foreign lads in, some of them who probably came for the wrong reasons. As we know, as a Sunderland fan, there's been many a mercenary over the year coming here for wages and not caring about the club.
Just one or two.
And yeah, I think maybe letting some quality go, when you look back like a Donna Hutchinson or good characters around the place, letting them go. I know obviously the Lee Clark situation, whatever, but around the place, he was great. A lot of players who weren't replaced with like for like. So, like you're saying, Quinny left, irreplaceable, but you bring in Lillian Leslanders. Like, it's chalk and cheese. And unfortunately, at that time, that was just the way it was going. And you can get away with it with maybe 1 or 2 signings, but before you know it, when 6 or 7 of the squads change and you're bringing in them or taking a chance on a Medina or a Helmer that doesn't even get a game or whatever, that's when it started to go downhill a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Gav, I was absolutely gutted because you could sense it coming, especially when we finished 17th that year.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame, isn't it? Because we look back at that time now, and all the conversation is about the togetherness, the team spirit that got us there. What happened off the pitch was just as important as what happened on it. And as Simon just said, Johnston left, Summerby left eventually, Quinny retired. We're bringing in, players who weren't good enough basically to replace some of these lads. Some of the squad was getting a bit older and getting on a bit, and then you've got to think about replacing them. And yeah, it was a shame because we never actually capitalised on finishing 7th twice, did we?
No,
we didn't do that at all.
Well, not just that, Sam, but for the young lads, there was no cup runs either.
No, that's it. Like I say, we've gone from the high of the few years before that, where every team in the club's flying, the youths, the ressies, the first team, and it did start to seem as if it was going in that direction, a bit of a slippery slope. No. Now, whether, again, could it be the chairman not putting his hand in when we finish 7th and kicking on to that next stage, maybe keeping your best players and then building on that? That's not for me to say. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but we definitely didn't replace them like for like. And the cup runs, I think, did we not play Arsenal away in the cup and we beat them 3-2 or something? Or it might be.
Yeah. That was the year we got relegated. We actually had to.
Yeah.
We didn't do too bad in the cups there. We had 5 games in the FA Cup, 2 replays.
The year that Sam started in that pre-season, we literally got knocked out the first round by Sheffield Wednesday of the League Cup and got knocked out in the third round by West Brom. So there was 2 cup games.
Yeah.
Whereas if you think in the League Cup normally, Simon, if you're in the first 2 rounds, some of the young lads might have 4 games.
No, that's it, and it's an ideal chance for you to show what you can do. So again, probably a bit unfortunate for myself or some of the other young lads that we didn't get a run.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, isn't it?
Well, it was the next summer that you went on loan to Notts County. But again, I'm kind of thinking about it because he had a problem with right back all that year.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, I wonder if you were kind of thinking, I wonder what he's going to do this summer. I wonder what the situation's going to be in that position. And then he goes out and gets Stephen Wright from Liverpool.
Yeah.
And Bernd Ars is one of these who's kind of, right, you're out. You've had a season, you've had a year, you're out. Yeah. But again, was this because you ended up going to Notts County, but were you half thinking, do I get that experience or do I try and stick around and get a few games?
I don't think it was necessarily just my decision. I remember Sacco pulling me saying, look, one of his good friends in football's Notts County manager, they've been watching you, they really fancy you, we think that you need games under your belt. Now, with them signing Stephen Wright, and I'm sure Daz Williams was still at the club as well, that's me third in the pecking order. Now, as I progressed in my career, I like playing centre-half, but they were never going to see me as a centre-half for Sunderland either. So it was a case of, right, am I going to stay here and play in the ressies and be third choice? Or should I go and get some proper league games? And it wasn't like they forced me, but they just suggested, look, it'll do you good and we'll keep an eye on you and whatever. And it was a good experience. Obviously, I played 30-odd games that year in League One, played at some good grounds and some good experiences. And whilst I was there, obviously, Reid got the sack. Howard Wilkinson come in, he got the sack. I never actually witnessed Howard Wilkinson on any of that. And then Mick McCarthy come in, and then that's when I returned at the end of that season. So it was a bit of a whirlwind that season.
Yeah. Is anyone keeping in touch with you at the club through that?
Nothing. So I remember Adrian Heath came to watch me once or twice maximum. No phone calls, no nout. Just left to my own devices in Nottingham, 19-year-old, by myself, basically.
Almost like the club's just forgotten about you, like you're just there.
Now, Reid, to give him his dues, has probably got enough on his plate if he was going to get the sack or whatever to even be worrying about me. Howard Wilkinson's come in. Again, he's probably got 30 or 40 lads in Sunderland who's higher up on the pecking order to worry about than some young lad at Notts County. Then he got the sack. My first day back for pre-season, I'm adamant Mick McCarthy didn't even know who I was. I walked in, he probably thought he's won a competition or something, or he's coming to like autographs or something, I don't know. It was just like weird. Again, because the squad was that big, players were returning, players were going out. It was just an absolute shit, like not a shit show, but it was just carnage for that time of the club.
Yeah. Well, I looked at that summer and, Ben Clark starts getting involved. You've got Craig James, John Joe Dickman. I mean, did you think you got a fair crack at the whip at actually showing what you could do?
Yeah, definitely. So I've come back in again. I thought, right, I'm going to show them what I can do and all that. First day pre-season, I'm, like I say, up at the front and the running, as I always used to. Then Mick goes, right, we're having a small-sided game over there, no keepers. If people's having a shot, you've just got to block it and that, you use your body and stuff. And we've gone into this game, and I'm just taking balls in my face and chests and all that. And I think Mick loved it. He took a bit of a shine to me on the first day. And we got on great. But again, Stephen Wright was still there. Daz Williams was there. And what can you do? Do you know what I mean? Like, one got injured, the other one plays. So
and there was Bjorkland as well, who could play right back as well.
Yeah, he was still there. Although, like I say, I think he's seen him more as a centre-half, but the other two were ahead of me. And I just remember that season travelling to nearly every match. I was always in the squad. I was either the spare man in the stand, or I was on the bench. I think I made the bench 3 or 4 times or something. I don't know. I can't remember. Came on in the FA Cup. Just different things. I was on the verge, but if both of them had got injured or whatever, there's no doubt about I was getting my chance. But again, fine lines in football, isn't it? 2 in front of you.
Yeah. Well, how was that? Because you did come on from the bench, but you kind of just turned 22. And I know you'd played for, I think you just turned 22 by my reckoning. And, I know you played for Notts County, but if you talk about a player who comes through the club and makes their debut at 22,
crazy.
You know, like you've waited a long time for that. And it was the last couple of minutes, because actually when I was looking at the game, it was Ipswich in the fourth round. And I think they'd just scored. Martin Roycer, I think, had pulled one back. It was 2-0 to us. They'd pulled one back. And then you come on almost to show things up at the back. But I mean, in that situation, because even a minute when you're thinking, oh, I'm closing this game out, minute to go or something like that, it must have been like, right, here I go.
It was, I don't know, a little bit surreal, but I think I don't think I was going off, but I think Daz Williams got cramp or something's happened. And they had a corner, and Mick McCarthy was like, Rammers, what you going on? I didn't even have time to think about it. It's not like got told I was going to make my debut and you think the night before, right, I'm starting tomorrow. I didn't even think I was going to get on, and I wasn't going to get on. But because Daz was down and they had a corner, it was like a rush decision. I think maximum 2 minutes left of the game or something. Like it was the depths of injury time. And again, I didn't think out of it. Just came on, we seen out the corner. I don't think I even touched the ball. I might have done, can't remember. And yeah, it wasn't till after the match I thought, do you know what? I can say I've actually played for Sunderland now. Like, which is mad at 22 when you've been through all them experiences, been on the bench, been away first team, whatever, played in front of 40,000 in reserve games. But I'd never officially played for Sunderland until that day. So, yeah, it was only for a short spell, but it's something I'll take to my grave. That little lad who was in the Roker end, do you know what I mean? It's what dreams are made of.
Do you know you said there you never really expected to get on, and you were, even though you were on the bench all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Was that not just mad as a fan that you were basically like getting the up close and personal experience? That I guess like you were with the team on match days, you were in the dressing room, you were watching the game from the dugout.
Mm-hmm.
Like people would pay big money to do that.
I was just about to say that.
And this is the thing, like when I left school, it was like I'd honestly won the lottery or won a competition, or I was just in awe of it all. So some people, like you said there, would you not knock on the manager's door? I was just buzzing to just be there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like say it, running along the side of the pitch, warming up, and just being next to the lads while they score or whatever. Like, it was just, I don't know. It's probably not the way to look at it as a lad trying to make a career for himself, but I didn't see it that way. I'm still now to this day a fan, and I was then.
It's pretty unique.
It was very unique. There's not many, I don't think. Like, I've played with hundreds of footballers in my career, and there's not one that I've ever played with who's as passionate or as die-hard supporter and end up playing for the club. None.
Mm. And you know that any future edition of All the Lads books, you'll always be in there.
Yeah, that's it. Shortest SEFC career ever, innit?
Does that number, that one's there, so you'll be in every single Sunderland book as a player who's had an appearance. Brilliant. But at the end of that season, and you've talked previously about kind of being released and that, but it's interesting because when you talk about it, because as a young'un, I've talked about it being the dream and all this, but not a lot of people think about that side of the game, where actually it's bloody ruthless, and you're a young lad and you leave that training ground, you haven't got a job.
Do you know what it is? Again, it didn't seem real. So I remember we played Palace in the playoffs, and it went to penalties. So before the game, just normal. I think I was in the squad. I don't think I wasn't on the bench, I don't think. But I was in the squad, and anyway, Jeff Whitley misses that penalty, doesn't he? The match is finished, and I thought, shit, I'm leaving Sunderland in the morning. That was it, done. Didn't think about it before the match. I don't know whether it just clicked in or thought we're going to get to Wembley or whatever. I don't know. But it was just like all this years or work my arse off or trying to get in the team, and I knew I was leaving. So then, like, the next day, it was like, right, that's it, done. You need to go in and just get your boots and see you later. It was mad. It was a strange feeling.
Yeah, but you're, like I said earlier, you're 22 years old.
Yeah,
and you're like, I mean, how is that for a football? Because you're like, well, now I'm unemployed. I mean, do you almost is it that kind of being a young'un kicking in where you're like, I'll be all right, I'll find something?
I think at that stage, up until then, I never even treated it as a career. I didn't. It was like I say before, it was just a dream. I didn't think, I need to go out and play 100 games for someone or whatever. It was just like, I'm getting to go in at Sunderland every day. Now, reality kicked in then. I'm like, right, what the fuck are you going to do now? You need to actually try and make a living or make a career for yourself. So I would say my career never started. I know I went to Notts County, but I still wouldn't pass that. My career didn't start till that summer. Fresh start, sign for a new club, and actually try and do something with me career instead of being a squad player or a bit part player or travelling and stuff like that.
Talk to a couple of people who've come through the ranks at Sunderland, and do you think Sunderland's a special, not a special case, but it's like, because if you come through at Sunderland, and Sunderland fans, we're daft as a brush in terms of supporting the lads. Do you think it's more difficult for a fan of Sunderland to come through the club and almost, because you've seen it with George Honeyman, and there's you could rattle off loads of players in the past who've almost come through supporting the club and found it so difficult that actually they almost become a footballer when they can leave and concentrate on just playing football rather than playing football for Sunderland?
Possibly. I remember playing against the Mags in the reserve match. Like I said before, when there was 30, 40,000 there. And the fans are singing, like, I don't know, if you're at Newcastle got bands, I'm singing it running down the fucking line. And that, like, oh, right, you need to forget about that, like, concentrate on the match, do you know what I mean? So, like, some lads, like your Dan Neils or whatever, you must get blown away sometimes when you walk out that tunnel and you see the reception or them singing Wise Men Say or whatever. I don't care what you say, it's got to have an effect. When you're passionate about the club and you're a supporter of the club, it does. And then when I went on to move to other clubs, you have an affiliation with them, and I do, like Motherwell and Bradford have a real affiliation with. Still go up to watch Motherwell, and I love it, but it's a total different feel to when you are through and through supporter of that club. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, like I say, you did move on, and you went to Grimsby, and you had a couple of years there, I think, and then you went and you were with Michael Reddy there, and then you went on to Rochdale, for who you were there for some. I'm looking at the list of players there. Ricky Lambert, Glenn Murray, and actually there was, I don't know if you played with him or if he was at the club when you were there, but William Moquette, who Niall Quinn signed for Sunderland.
He came on loan. I'm sure he scored a hat-trick on his first game, something like that. he came and he was on fire. I think we kept him for a couple of months. But when I signed for Rochdale, the two centre forwards were Grant Holt and Ricky Lambert in League Two, which is just mental. But then they had a thing like this, like all through my time there, they always seemed to sign players who went on to play at the highest level. We had Glenn Murray, obviously ended up playing the Premier League.
Four Premier League strikers, and
Adam Lafondra, Premier League. Yeah, Jordan Rhodes, Premier League. Honestly, the list, like that's just three off the top of my head. Like there was just so many players. Craig Dawson, centre half, he's still in the Premier League, I think.
Yeah.
It was one of them clubs where they seemed to take a chance on someone who maybe, I don't know, needed to get his career back up and running or whatever, put the arm around the shoulder type of thing, and then they would bring them in, they do really well, move them on. Will Buckley was there, Premier League.
Yeah.
Obviously for us. Honestly, that's just reeling them off the top of my head. There was so many that came in there and went on to better things. It was a great time. Like when you look at this, I mean, the size of Rochdale, we're only getting like 3,000-4,000 crowds. For them to attract that type of player is unbelievable.
Yeah, glory days for Rochdale, I think. And then you ended up at Bradford under Stuart McCall. And whenever I think of Stuart McCall, I mean, he just seems like a fella you'd want to play for, because that video of him falling off the car.
He's the best manager I played for by far. Like, yeah, maybe not technically, or every manager's got different aspects. Do you know what I mean? Some are better coaches, but as a manager and as a person, and how loyal he is, you would run through a brick wall for Stuart McCall. Like, he was unbelievable. And we got to Wembley with Rochdale, got the playoff final. We got beat. The next season, we got the playoffs again. And I was at a bit of a crossroads. I was like, do I stay? Do I not? And I was on holiday and I found out Stuart McCall was wanting to sign me. So for me, coming from that era where you've probably seen Stuart play as a young lad and whatever, it was a big compliment that someone of his magnitude would be interested in signing you. And then obviously went to look around the ground at Bradford, and it was chalk and cheese to Rochdale. I played there loads of times anyway, but playing in front of 15,000, 20,000 every week, and it was an option I couldn't turn down, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, it was only kind of 10 years before the Premier League club, wasn't it, Bradford?
I remember being down there watching Sunderland win Boxing Day. Was it 4-0?
Yeah. But when we hammered everyone. But yeah, I can't, I'm giggling now thinking about Stuart McCall with a can in his hand, falling off the Does he?
The amount of people that must say to him, "What about that?" I don't think.
It keeps coming up on the socials, I think, for every anniversary of it.
Well, that's the thing. Love it though. He's just class, just like one of the lads. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, then Phil Parkinson comes in. I mean, having played for him, what did you think when he got the Sunderland job?
The less said about him, the better, mate. To be honest.
Yeah.
I'd like. Do you know what? He's gone on to do well at Wrexham. He got If you ask any Bradford fan, he'd be like up there like a Stoke always for us or whatever. He got them to the cup final and stuff. Do you know what I mean? They really liked him, but he was very disloyal to me and quite a lot of the other lads. Like at the end of my last season at Bradford, I'd had a few troubles away from football and stuff like that. And he said, "Right, Rammers, I want to offer you a new contract. I'll meet you in Yarm." Went and met him. He was like, "Right, we want to keep you next season, blah, blah, blah." I had a newborn coming about 2-3 weeks later. So he said, "Right, get yourself on holiday. When you get back, the contract will be here." All this shit. No bother. Went away, newborn coming, came back, his phone's off. I thought, right, I'll give it a few days. Nothing. He then messages me about a week later saying, "Oh, Rammers, the chairman's going to offer you 50% of your wages. I know you're going to say no, so it's pointless me even offering you that." Like, I just thought, just be a man. Be upfront about it. Say, "Rammers, we've changed our mind. We don't want to sign you. Thanks for everything." And I'd have shook his hand and thought, you know what? That's football. And he wouldn't be the first. He wouldn't be the last manager to do that. But it's just the way he went about things. And the more and more I speak to other lads and stuff, he does that. So
didn't he do that to John Parkin as well?
He's done it to loads, mate.
Yeah.
Loads. Aaron Wilbraham spoke about it on the podcast. There's loads. Yeah. Now, look, it's football and you can make decisions and you can change your mind. But I think just be upfront and be honest about it. I had a kid coming 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. I then had no club. And this is where Stuart McCall saved my heart big time and why he's my favourite manager of all time, because he took a chance and took me up to Motherwell.
Yeah. But I'd argue, Simon, you say that's football. I'm not sure what that is. That's just about being a bloke, innit? Or being a nice person, full stop.
I mean the ruthless side of it. Like, it's about doing it the right way, though. So if he said to me a month earlier, "Rammers, there's a contract for you." Then if he rang me and said, "Do you know what? I'm so sorry, there's not now, and thanks for everything," I wouldn't have been happy, but I'd have been like, right, at least you've been honest. Now, but don't turn your phone off, or don't say the chairman's going to offer you 50%, which is a bullshit story. That was my take on it all. Do you know what I mean? Just be upfront. We're all men, and you move on, and that's the ruthless side of football, which will have happened hundreds of thousands of times with players. But
yeah, so when he got the Sunderland job, then what was your first thought?
Okay, I was thinking, I didn't even want to go to the matches, mate. How can you want? I don't think I'd ever wanted Sunderland not to do well, but I was thinking, fuck me, like, I don't know. I wouldn't say I disliked the man, but I'm just not happy with the way that he went about things. And I knew his style of football would be dreadful to watch, because when I used to play right back for him, basically, he was like, get it out your feet and just hit it down the channel, or hit it onto like one of our, James Hansen, who was one of our strikers. And I thought, that's not really attractive to watch as a fan. No. And as it happens, exactly how it panned out.
I think he's going to get a rude awakening in the Championship this season. Because you look at that squad they've got and you just think it's ruthless, the Championship.
The only thing is, they have probably got the funds to go and bring some better quality in with them owners and that. But I agree with you. With that squad that's gone up, I think they will get found out.
I was going to say that I think I would have said once upon a time he belongs on the Disney Channel, but actually he's ended up there and been comfortable. But yeah, I mean, again, I couldn't believe. But it's funny because you're saying that, Stuart McCall came in and saved your ass, and Gav, we think of the kind of the glory side of football, but actually people keep forgetting that this is part of football where actually they're employees, and when they lose the job, that people just forget. They think, they're living the dream, but actually, at a certain level, people need another job.
Yeah. Well, yeah. A lot of people fall out the game, don't they? Or play at a level which maybe there isn't big money involved, and then as soon as their playing days are over, they've got to find another career, and you do forget that. So, certainly, I mean, we were talking earlier about like lads now, aged 17 and 18, being on 10 grand a week. That could set them up for life if they're smart with it, but it maybe wasn't the case 10, 15 years ago.
No. But Simon, do you think that was an issue? And I don't know if they've solved it. You know, you're talking about a couple of occasions, 22 years old, coming out, not got a job, and then further down the line, you're well into your career, well into your 20s, got a family, and then at certain times you just think, well, actually, I haven't got a job anymore. I mean, should football maybe do more about people who end up in those situations?
You know what? It's just a ruthless business, and until you're in it, you say about player loyalty, right? And like, oh, they've jumped ship or they've signed this contract. A club would wash their hand with you in an instant if, as I've seen firsthand, if they don't fancy you anymore, or if you're not producing the goods, or if you get an injury and stuff like that. It is a ruthless game. But at the level I was playing at, you're not set up for life. Now, if I'd have broke through in Sunderland and been on 10, 20 grand a week, and Bradford let me go, I might have been financially secure for the rest of my life and thought, right, fuck it, it is what it is. However, I wasn't, and I didn't have a club, and I had a baby coming 2 weeks later, and Phil Parkinson's turning his phone off. Like, do you know what I mean? People don't see that side. And then going from that to Stuart McCall saying, Rammers, come up, we're going to Portugal pre-season next week. Come up and prove to me that you're fit enough, and I'll give you a contract. So then having to take the newborn in the car up to Scotland to stay in a hotel, trusting my fitness that I wasn't going to get an injury or stuff, to go to Portugal for a week to get a contract that I'm relying on to pay bills for my family to then move to Scotland. The pressure on me that week in Portugal was something else. Not because of my ability. I know I can go up there and play with Motherwell. It was, fuck me, what if I pull my hamstring? What if I do my calf? What if, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Which can happen at any minute in a match or in training. And then that contract wouldn't have been there. Then what do I do? So it's that side of football that sometimes gets forgotten about.
Yeah. And then you go up there with all that pressure and you end up playing in the Champions League.
Yeah. Football in it. So my actual debut for Motherwell was against Panathinaikos in the Champions League.
Mad, that, isn't it?
Absolutely brilliant. That.
Crazy story, isn't it? But yeah, a bit surreal, really.
I mean, it's like Roy the Rovers stuff, except the goals, obviously.
I know, and I've never even, we played a couple of pre-season games, but I've never even played properly at Fir Park, I don't think. Like the actual, so not only was it surreal, we're just running out at a new ground, but to play in the Champions League with the music and sell-out crowd, and it was something else.
Yeah, but and then I mean, you were second in the league. I mean, I know Rangers were down there, but I mean, it must have, was it? Could you almost compare it to the days at Sunderland when Motherwell were flying? Did it almost have that feeling about it?
Exactly the same, and it was the togetherness of the squad. So again, predominantly British, Scottish lads who all got on like a house on fire, who all spent all the time together outside of training as well as at training. I used to get all the lads around my house on a Saturday night. We'd have parties, whatever, and the togetherness was unbelievable. And we finished second behind Celtic 2 years in a row. Now, if you looked at the budget of Motherwell and the fan base, we probably would have been down the bottom end of what people would probably be expecting us to finish. We couldn't compete financially with your Hearts, Hibs, Celtics, Dundee United, all them, but we did. And we beat Celtic twice, I think it was, when I was up there. Yeah, it was just an unbelievable time.
Yeah. And there's a bad year after that, and you do end up leaving. But again, it's one of these things that you look at on paper, and obviously you're getting to that stage of your career. But to go from the Scottish Premier League, and obviously we're talking about the early one, the Champions League, the Europa League as well. But then you go to non-league and come to Gateshead. I mean, was that all about geography? And it was actually Malcolm Crosby took over that summer. I mean, was it just all about that? Was rather than thinking, do I try and stay as high a level as I possibly can?
Again, similar to the Bradford situation, sometimes beggars can't be choosers. And I was doing well at Motherwell. However, each summer or each transfer window, Stuart kept losing a player, another player, and a bit like the Reid situation, didn't have the funds to maybe replace like for like. So we finished second, then 2 or 3 players got snapped up, finished second again, same. And we started drifting down the table in my third season, and Stuart decided to leave, and they brought in one of my old teammates when I was at Notts County, Ian Barraclough, as manager, and we just didn't see eye to eye. It is what it is. Like, I'd gone from a manager who I had to run for a brick wall for to someone that came in who wanted like 20 meetings a day with the lads, who was as dull as dishwater, who, like, I don't know, just honestly, it's one of them. I didn't really see eye to eye with him, and none of the players generally did either. And we struggled the whole season. And in Scotland, in the top flight, you go into a playoff, bit different to down here. So you end up playing whoever comes second in the league below to see if they come up or you get relegated. And just before that, I think I got sent off twice in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something, which obviously got the managers back up. We were then playing Rangers, which was the be-all and end-all. If we beat Rangers, we're going to stay up. So I thought, he's going to play me. Like, he knows how much I'll give and how much it means to me and whatever. I love Motherwell. And he put me on the bench. So we've gone out for training, and the lad he's picked over centre-half for me forgot his boots, right? So we've gone out on the training pitch, and he's got his fucking trainers on, right? And I'm thinking, hold on a minute. Like, this is what I made about this manager. So I'm thinking, right, you've got me, who's finished second in the league 2 years in a row, part of that squad, been captain on quite a few occasions for the club, would run through a brick wall to save Motherwell, and you're dropping me for someone that can't be asked, who was on loan, who's forgotten boots. And this is the crack. So anyway, as it happens, we beat Rangers.
That sounds like Sunday League, that.
Fucking mental, isn't it? So as it happens, we ended up beating Rangers, which is great for the club. Stuart McCall was the Rangers manager. So it was a great, for me, like, oh, great, Motherwell staying up. I felt shit for Stuart, because he would have probably kept the Rangers job if they'd have won. I also knew I was leaving the club the next day. It was just not a great time. So again, that summer, it's like, right, what do I do? There was 3 clubs said to me, come and train with us pre-season. I think it was Carlisle, a couple of others. But Gary Howers, obviously ex-Sunderland, was the chief scout at Motherwell under this new manager. And Malcolm Crosby offered him the assistant manager's job at Gateshead. So Gary Howard was like, Rammers, get yourself down here, get yourself moving back home, come and train with us next week, we're back in, just keep yourself ticking over. So I thought, right, fuck, I'll just go back to Sunderland, to where the kids obviously go to school. I'll just go and train with them for a week. No pressure, see what it's like, keep ticking over, see what options come in. Anyway, gone in, trained for a week, and it was one of them weeks where everything you touch just works out. I was just on fire, really, and my fitness was good, and they offered me a contract straight away. Again, if I'd have been 10 years younger, no kids, no commitments, I maybe would have took a risk, gone to Carlisle or whatever, and thought, right, I'll earn a contract. I'm 34 possibly, 33, 34. Again, thinking, right, I've got kids. Do I take the contract that's on the table, some security, signing on fee? And I took that decision. And I knew after a week I'd fucked up. I knew I'd made the wrong decision. I'd gone from the highs of playing in Scotland and massive games to being surrounded by mags in gates. Playing in front of 500 people. Every game away from Gateshead in that league is about 7 hours on a bus. My wages had more than halved. I was struggling to get by. And everything, I just thought, do you know what? What on earth have you done? They're playing black and white. Like, just everything. And it's what it is. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you make the right call and that wasn't the one, but I'd done it for the right reasons, and that was family reasons, not football reasons.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a few ex-Sunderland at Gateshead who came in that summer?
Clark was there with me. Me and Clark came through together at Sunderland and that, but there's been loads over the time, like Johnston was there, and quite a few others. But yeah, I don't know. I just knew after a week, I thought, like, what have you done?
Yeah. Well, you played for a little bit there and then at Whitby, but had you already started to think what you were going to do after football?
Do you know what? This Whitby one, I don't know where people get this from. It's on Wikipedia that I played.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does it say 20 games or something?
Yeah. Something like that.
I've never played one game. Someone scored and just thought, it was just, so the story behind the Whitby one is, my old teammate from Bradford, Lee Bullock, is the Whitby assistant manager. So when I retired, he was like, Rammers, come in and train with us and whatever, like, and if you fancy your game, we'll sign you or give you cash in, whatever, I can't remember, yeah? So I went through train with Whitby. Anyway, they sort of pulled a bit of a stunt and said, look, we're really struggling for players. Would you just go on the bench for us on, I can't remember, it was like a Tuesday night. We haven't even got enough players to be fielding on the bench. You're not going to come on, you're not going to play, but just to get a feel for the players. So I said, go on then, I'll just come down for the crack. So I went down, done the warm-up, sat on the bench, knew I wasn't getting on. And that was the last time I had anything to do with Whitby. Never again. And I'd done it as a favour for me mate Lee, because he was struggling for players. And then everyone says, oh, you played, I don't know, 20-odd games for Whitby. I'm like, I've never even been to Whitby's ground.
So someone must have been doing a backhand. Someone might have played under the name Simon Ramsden, but it wasn't you.
So
Whitby actually put a tweet, I've just found it here, from September 19th, 2017. Whitby Town is delighted to announce its first signing of the day, experienced defender Simon Ramsden. And there's a nice big graphic there.
It's the shortest signing ever, because I went on the bench that night, and then that was it. Top of their asses because they didn't have enough players for the bench.
But had you already started to think about what you were doing after football? Did you want to stay in the game?
Nah, my head had gone, honestly. I was in a bad place, and the Gateshead situation had just done us in. I'd had quite a few injuries and stuff, double hernia. I was earning shit money, and I don't know, I'd lost the love for it. I really had. If I'd have still been at Motherwell and Stuart was my manager, I'd have probably played till I was like now, probably 40 odd. But I don't know, I just really didn't enjoy my time there. Great set of lads and all that, and do you know what I mean? Like, I feel a bit crap saying that, because it is what it is, but I just wasn't in the right frame of mind for them to get the best out of me. And I was at a crossroads. It was like, football's all you've known all your life, and then it's gone overnight. It's like, right, what do you do now? So it was a bit of a strange one.
And of course, you wanted to free up all your Saturdays to follow the lads, didn't you?
Well, that was it. So I got a season ticket straight away.
What season was that?
What's that?
What season would that have been?
Trying to think. So I retired.
Which relegation year was that?
It was 9 years ago. So I'm trying to think who was even the manager when I got my
last Premier League season.
I'll tell you who it possibly was. My first season for the season ticket. It was when Stuart Donald possibly just took over. Maybe it might have been when we played Charlton first game.
League One.
The last kick of the game.
Yeah,
it was either that season or the one before that. But I do remember going with the kids with the season tickets against Charlton when we scored in the last minute.
Got the kids going during the glory years then, did you?
I know, yeah.
But it's amazing though when you say that, because that game was August 2018. You're talking coming up 7 years ago, and the change, the club from then until now. I mean, and obviously it's only been 4.5 years with this ownership, but in 4.5 years, it's unbelievable how they've changed the face of the club in everything we're doing.
Do you know what, though? It's fine lines in football, isn't it? Like, if we'd have got a beat off Coventry, which we could have quite easily, we'd have all been up in the air saying what the fuck happened at the back end of the season, and we never won a game for 3 months. And do you know what I mean? And the same at Wembley. If that goal doesn't get disallowed through VAR, that's probably game over. It turns round and it's like Speakman's a genius, Labrie is the best manager, and this is the fine lines in football. And it's amazing how it's panned out. But aside from that, if you look at the squad now, the turnaround, when we look back to them League One days under Parkinson and Jack Ross, in fact, no, it was Jack Ross. That was it, who I had the season ticket under. When we look back to them days and playing at Accringtons, I remember going to Wickham away and just it's mad how far we've come, isn't it? And now we're back in the Premiership.
Yeah, you could even go into more detail, like the Patrick Roberts giving the ball away in the last minute.
Yeah,
and then they break, and if Sheffield United get that right and score last minute goal, but it's Kiefer Moore, a ball goes to him and he gives us back, and Watson scores.
Mad, isn't it?
It's just crazy. And then even when you talk about that first season with Jack Ross was a penalty shootout away from winning the AFL trophy, and then a last minute goal away from winning the playoff final because Charlton scored that last minute goal. Yeah. But then we go on with Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven into the Championship, which is again probably a whole different story. But football's this thing, isn't it? Like you just said, there's no middle ground, because it would have taken some convincing to say to people we had a brilliant season, because everyone would have just went, no, they're all shit. We got beat in the semi-final and that's it. Everything was crap.
That's football, though, isn't it? Like, I'm as bad as everyone. Like, when you're winning, it's like we're the best thing ever, and the same when we're losing, isn't it? Like, you always write everybody off. But It is crazy to think how far we've come in such a short space of time, and that we're going to be going off to playing back in the Premiership, which is where we should be. You know what I mean? Like the size. Look at our fan base down at Wembley. That man, just like it's exactly where we deserve to be. There's no fans in the country that's put the shite way out for the last 30 odd years and stuck with them and followed them home and away and sell out everywhere they go. Not, and I'll bring the Mags into that. There's no chance.
Yeah. We've talked about how all the young players coming through and like youth systems and stuff. How impressed have you been? Like this 4.5 years has been built on, 19, 20, 21-year-olds basically, with the odd sprinkling of a couple of older players here and there. But players coming through the system, your Dan Neils, your Pattersons, your Tommy Watsons, who obviously scored the goal. But it's ridiculous now how they suddenly realised that straight away, tapped into it, and they've been bringing these players through.
It's great though. So that's probably the positive of us struggling the last few years. These have all been given a chance. So your Pattersons has come through in League One, and now he's probably played, 100 games. Dan Neils, Rig's going to go on. If they'd have come through that time when I came through under Peter Reid, half of these wouldn't have got a chance. So I'm 22 and played 30 games. Like you say, when I left Sunderland, some of these will leave Sunderland at 22 and played 250 games. And that's the good thing, I think, about us being where we have been. We've been able to develop so many young lads and giving them an opportunity, which it'll be interesting now because the pressure will be on from the fan base. We need to spend big. You need experience in the Premiership. So these young lads who, like a Tommy Watson or whoever who's been thrown in, they might not necessarily get the chance now. It's like he's gone to Brighton. He probably won't get a game. He'll be sent out on loan. And this is the hardest part. Now, when you get in the Premiership, is Dan Neil going to play every week? Is Patterson going to be first? And this is the thing. You'll see then, obviously, how much potential, or how good they are.
Yeah. How tough's it going to be? Because Gav thinks we're going to qualify for Europe this season.
I hope so. I think it's proven. And any team that comes up, you're up against it. It's made out for us to come straight back down. That's what they do. They gulf in finances and clubs, and it's so hard for anybody coming up now to compete. It really is. So you need that spirit of what we've got and add some experience because, yeah, it's all right having loads of young lads who are fearless and athletic, but you need, like people mentioned, Jordan Henderson coming back and people like that, you need people who's been around the block, who can settle things down, be around the changing room, guide the young lad. And I think that's what the tactic I would be going down. If I was the manager this summer, I would bring 3 or 4 really experienced Premiership players in, not foreign lads who've never played in the league before. British-based, experienced lads who know what the club's about or know what the league's about, and then surround them with athletic, quick, talented players and a good number 9, and I think we've got half a chance.
So you nodding along, Gav? You think that's a way forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a bit of a change in tact from the club, isn't it? From just only really recruiting young players. We've I think everybody knows it. We've got Jordan Henderson would be top my list. I'm praying that once he's back off his holidays, that's straight on his case to get him through the door, because somebody like that would be so valuable to what we're trying to do. But we need a few of them, don't we? It can't just be one. It's going to have to be 3 or 4, possibly, of just that profile.
Yeah, I think we need the spine of the team. Yeah. Do you bring an experienced keeper in? Do you bring definitely a centre-half? 100%, if not 2. Experienced centre-mid, which Henderson would fall into that category, and a proper experienced number 9. And I think base it on that, and you've got half a chance.
Yeah. And just talking about as well how we're running the club, you showed us your tattoo of Gabardini scoring that goal at St James's, but just things like going back to Hummel, and apparently it's the blue strip next season. My
favourite kit. I love it.
Yeah.
Then Hummel strips, the Vauxhall ones, nothing's going to beat them off there. No, that's it. But it's like there's been so many spells in our time where the club is so far away from the fans and like what they're looking for, or out of touch with them. That's the word I was looking for. Now, don't get me wrong, these owners haven't got everything right. Like when you look back at the Mags, that was an absolute shit show. The way they let them have that the hospitality and all that and the full end and shit like that. Don't get me wrong, they've made some mistakes, but they've made some really good choices. And I think bringing that lad in who's behind the Hummel stuff, obviously he's from the area. David Bruce.
Yeah.
Just some of the other things, they seem to be like aligned with the fan base again and like bringing back ready to go for the team to run out of just different things. And I think they've got the social media from the club now. Like one of my good friends, Ross, does a lot for that. They just seem to have a lot of it nailed on and going in the right direction, which is a nice change for us.
Yeah, it's all looking good at the minute. And we said we'd finish off with this, Simon, but we'll just give people another reminder for your fundraiser coming up. So, I mean, if you could give people a heads up, because we'll stick the Just Giving link and all that sort of stuff. But if they don't go through us, where can they find information about it?
Yeah, so if they go on any of my social media, my Instagram page, my Twitter, my Facebook, all the links should be on there. They've been all over the place. A lot of people shared them, which I'm really grateful for. If people are unsure where it's at Sunderland ABC, which is on Hilton Road, next to Steele's Club, starting at 9 p.m. on the Friday night, and I'm training till 10 a.m. on the Sunday morning. Now, you're welcome to book on to any of the 37 classes. The first one's sold out now, which has got Reid and Bally coming, but you can book on any of them. So if anyone fancies doing the night shift with me, please come along. I don't think there'll be many takers for 3 and 4 a.m., but you're welcome to come along. If you can't make it and you want to make a donation, it would mean the world. Like I say, there's 2 small children there who's now without a dad, so we're doing everything we can to raise as much as we can for them. And hopefully everybody keeps getting behind it. We've got 9 days to go, and then the shit gets real, and then we're all in 37 hours.
Good stuff. I just hope people don't fall out the pubs at last order and think there's still another party going on or something like that. Good stuff. Well, all the best for that, Simon. We wish you all the luck and hope that people get involved and donate. But yeah, and hopefully bump into you around the grounds next season.
You will do, mate. You'll see us, especially the Mags Mat is the same week as my birthday, so I'm looking forward to that. Seeing that early, the home one, just before Christmas. Cannot wait. That's the one, isn't it?
Lost weekend, is it?
I haven't been locked up for a while, so we'll see how that one.
That's it. One to look forward to. Brilliant. Thanks again, Simon.
No problem.
And cheers, Gav. We've got this, and we've got loads coming up on How We're the Podcast, haven't we?
Yeah, loads and loads and loads. Yeah,
loads and loads. Just podcasts all over.
That's it. Every single day here on the feeds. Day before people hear this one, we'll have one out with Tom White from Sky Sports News. There's the fixtures reaction, which I recorded with Martin and Johnny when the fixtures drop. There's the top 10 strikers that we did this week, and that's been controversial. A few people have said I deserve to be dunked in the River Wear for picking Niall Quinn above Kevin Phillips for that one. So if people want to hear how that went down, make sure you tune into that. But yeah, we've got loads coming up. I think we've got Lee Howie as well over the coming days. So plenty, mate. Loads for people to chow on.
Yeah, all good stuff. And thanks again, everyone, for listening. As Gav said, pods all over the places. But from us, it's bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.